Hello, I'm Edward Tarte, once a Catholic priest for 5 years in the 1960s, now an atheist, which means I find no credible evidence for the existence of any God. This is the 35th in my series of weekly videos for friendlyatheist.com. Last week I presented the first ever video of my local dialoguer, Catholic priest, Father TJ. The topic was the killings at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Today I present TJ's second video, which is on a different topic. Here is the background. A week ago, Hemant Mehta, the Friendly Atheist, posted an extended conversation between artist, filmmaker, and atheist Scott Burdick and biologist, author, and atheist Richard Dawkins. One portion of that interview stood out for me, and I sent the audio of this portion to TJ.
My mother only told me this story a couple of years ago, I think because she had a little bit of wine, which she never usually drinks, at a wedding, my sister's wedding. And I had never heard this story, never heard her say anything negative against the Catholic Church, my father either. And when she had my youngest brother, who was, there's 4 of us, the priest had been called because she had had a rupture when she was giving birth, and they thought she was going to die, and so the priest was called to give last rites. She ended up not dying. And the doctor, though, who was Jewish, told her that she had to have her tubes tied, that if she ever got pregnant again, halfway through it would absolutely rupture again and she would definitely die, and then so would the child. And so he left, and she asked the priest, and the priest said, "You've just seen a miracle. You were supposed to die and God saved you. You cannot do that. It's against the church, and if God wants there to be a miracle and you to give birth again, he will heal you. If he doesn't want you to get pregnant, you have to leave it in his hands." And so she said, "Okay, I guess that's what we have to do." The priest left, and then my father, my mom said she'd never seen my father get so angry or had never say anything against the priest. He said, "That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. You are having your tubes tied. We're not going to have a family. What is this priest thinking of leaving a family of 4 children with no mother?" And so she did, and she never had pregnant again. But it made me realize, had my father not been there, had they both been as trusting as my mother, I probably would have grown up without a mother. So.
That's a shocking story.
Yeah.
I mean, that is truly evil. That priest is evil, not as an individual. He's indoctrinated by an evil doctrine. The Roman Catholic Church, I think, is the second most evil organization in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me because I know that the priest really believed that. He thought he had been the president of a miracle and really believes in miracles. So he,
You've told that story, and this is going to be made public. So I guess your mother doesn't mind that story.
I asked her if it was okay,
yes.
And she said she didn't want to tell it, but that she was okay with being told. Yeah.
Because I do think that's a story that should be very widely propagated. It's yet another example of how wicked the Roman Catholic Church actually is.
Well, because people are always saying, well, so what? Why are you so adamant about it? Because it doesn't really do any harm. Religion's good anyways. It gives you morals and this sort of thing. And I have seen a lot of personal examples in my own life and friends of mine, and I have seen true harm that it's caused. That's why I'm doing this. Even though this isn't what I normally do, it's really, over the years, more and more things have added up to really see how it's harmed people.
Yes, it really does. But the other thing is how horribly widespread is the myth that you somehow need religion to get your morals. I mean, if you just think for a moment about that, it's obvious nonsense. You don't get your morals from religion. Well, you better not get them you certainly better not get them from the Bible. Heaven forbid you get them from the Bible, or the Quran, even worse. So you don't get them from the Bible. And in any case, why would you? I mean, are you so devoid of moral sense that you actually have to go and read a book to see that thou shalt not kill?
I suggested to TJ that he make a video response. He did so and titled it Moral Quandary. Here is his video response in its entirety.
Let's go Texans. As a lifelong Houstonian, I'm looking forward to the playoffs starting on Saturday. Texans haven't been playing well, but I am not ready to give up hope on them. Didn't make this video to talk about the Texans, but rather to respond to Mr. Tarte's latest video, the discussion between Mr. Burdick and Professor Dawkins and the moral quandary that arose. And there's no better way to describe that. It is certainly a moral quandary. Sometimes there are difficult decisions that we always have to make in life. The Catholic Church has firmly stood against birth control throughout her history. However, this situation, I think, is definitely an exception to the rule. because the intention in this situation, if the mom wanted to go ahead and have her tubes tied, then she's doing what she thinks is in her best interest to preserve her life. And she's not intending not to have kids because she doesn't want to be open to the gift of life, but rather the main focus is on preserving her life and being there for her family. I think that user Phil 49er hit it right on the head, that sometimes difficult decisions have to be made, and I do think that the priest could have considered this. The more that I'm associated with the Catholic Church, the more that I see, I'm realizing that I think God is a lot more understanding than the Catholic Church is, or sometimes her representatives. Because certainly in this case, broke my heart to hear that Mr. Burdick and his family doesn't sound like they were Catholic anymore after this experience they had. And it also makes me aware that I need to be as kind and generous as possible to all the people that I minister to. 3 comments I wanted to make about the video that sort of stood out to me. Was, first of all, there was not any mention, at least in the part of the video that Mr. Tarte played, of the miracle, of the unexplained healing that happened. The mom was supposed to die, it sounds like. The doctor said, look, this is, and if it happens again, you're definitely going to die. So I'm just kind of curious why that wasn't brought up at all, is the unexplained. Certainly as a believer, I would say, yes, that certainly is God's evidence is there, that this unexplained thing happened where she is able to survive and she's able to care for her kids. The other thing that struck me in this video was Professor Dawkins' use of the word evil when he described the Catholic Church. Well, the word evil for believers is a privation of good, an absence of good. I don't see how the Catholic Church could ever be accused of being an evil organization. Certainly we have had our problems. Certainly we are trying to work through some of the difficulties. We've apologized for many of those. But there is still a lot of goodness, the holiness that comes, the generosity that comes from the people of God, the generosity that comes from the Catholic Church in helping the poor. I don't see how it can be considered an evil organization, because it does have some good. And so the word evil means having no good whatsoever. But I would take a little bit of issue with his comment on that. And then the third thing that struck me in this video is that Professor Dawkins at one point says, heaven forbid. And I thought that was an interesting usage of speech for somebody who doesn't believe in the afterlife, that he would just automatically just throw that word out there. Some people might say it's a figure of speech. I, as a believer, would say maybe that's his soul crying out to the reality of what's to come after this world. I think that there's a lot of people who don't believe in God that often say things like, oh my God, if there's some kind of situation happening. Some people might say, well, that's using the name of God in vain, that's a sin. I would say if you call it out like that, maybe that's again your heart and your soul saying, oh my God, and offering that statement not as a figure of speech, but as a prayer from the depths of one's being. Just a simple observation that I had in watching this video. I hope that this video is helpful to the conversation. And once again, I want to remind you that we never are to lose hope in our team or in our faith, because our God does indeed love us. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Here are a few brief comments from me. In the main part of his video, TJ made what for me is a very remarkable statement coming from a Catholic priest.
I think God is a lot more understanding than the Catholic churches or sometimes her representatives.
This is evidence that TJ is doing some thinking for himself, and that is good. The day may come when TJ will no longer see this as a moral quandary. As for the word evil, meaning entirely evil, I do not see it that way. I see the word evil as meaning predominantly evil, that is, such that the evil substantially outweighs the good. Using the word evil in that sense, Richard Dawkins is calling the Catholic Church an evil organization, and I surely agree with him. And as for Richard Dawkins saying, heaven forbid, I say this, my God, that's nothing more than a figure of speech. Those are some brief comments from me. What comments can you offer? To all of you, thank you for watching this video.